the apology you keep waiting for stopped being about them a long time ago. You're still rehearsing the apology, the one where they finally get it. You check your phone, half hoping today's the day they reach out and own what they did. You bring up the old hurt one more time, certain that this time, somehow, they'll understand. And when the conversation ends the same way it always does, you tell yourself, maybe next time. But here's what no one ever told you about waiting for an apology that was never coming. The person you've really kept waiting, quietly, all these years, is yourself. If that door just creaked a little as you read this, stay with me, and maybe go ahead and subscribe, because what we're about to name is something most people guard their whole lives without ever turning to look at it. Because this isn't really about them, or about whether they ever say the words. It's about a door you've kept open for so long you forgot you were the one standing guard. Stop waiting for the apology that was never coming. Let's start with the thing you do that you've never named out loud. Somewhere inside you, there's a conversation you keep rehearsing, the one where they finally understand. You've scripted their face softening, their voice cracking, the exact words they'd say. You've replayed it so many times it feels almost real, and maybe that's the part that hurts most. You've spent more energy imagining their apology than they ever spent thinking about you. That ache you can't quite name, the one that flares up at the strangest moments. It lives right there. Here's what's strange about waiting for an apology that was never coming. You're not actually waiting for words. You could get the words tomorrow. I'm sorry, I was wrong. And something in you would still feel hollow. Because what you've really been chasing isn't the apology. It's the feeling underneath it. The sense that your pain was real, that it mattered, that someone finally saw it. You've been outsourcing your own reality to people who proved, again and again, they couldn't hold it. And that's the cruel little loop of chasing accountability from people who keep telling you they won't give it. Every time they deny it, minimize it, change the subject, denial and minimization, that quiet two-step, something in you doubles down. You explain it better. You bring more evidence. You hope they'll finally change, finally connect the dots, finally feel the weight of what they did. But you're knocking on a door that was bricked over long ago, and somehow you've decided the problem must be your knock. But this didn't start with you, with your stubbornness, with whatever you've called this needing closure thing. To understand it, we have to go back, way back, before you had words for any of it. There was a moment, or really 1,000 small moments, you might not even remember. A child looks up after being hurt, waiting for the grown-up to come, to kneel down, to say, I see what happened, and it wasn't okay. And the grown-up doesn't. The room just stays quiet. Picture that child for a second. Maybe it's you, maybe it's blurry. They've been wronged in some small, ordinary way. Yelled at for something they didn't do, blamed for an adult's bad mood, left alone with a fear too big for their body. And they wait. Kids are wired to wait for repair. It's how they survive. They scan the adult's face, holding their breath, watching for the moment the storm passes and someone makes it right. That moment is supposed to come. That's how trust is built. But when that repair never arrives, not once, not after the big ruptures, not after the small ones, the child's nervous system has to make a decision. It can't say, my caregivers are unsafe, because that's terrifying when you depend on them to live. So it makes the only move that keeps the bond intact. It decides the weight itself must be the problem, or worse, that the child is. If I'd been better, they'd have come. If I explain it just right, they'll finally understand. The waiting becomes the love. And here's the part that should take some weight off your chest. That wasn't weakness. That wasn't you being needy or dramatic or too sensitive. That was a small human being doing something brilliant, protecting an attachment they couldn't afford to lose. Emotional neglect doesn't always look like an empty fridge or an empty house. Sometimes it's a full house where nobody ever circles back to say, "I was wrong, and you didn't deserve that." The hunger for repair is the wound, and it followed you out the front door. So now you're an adult, and the people have changed, but the posture hasn't. You're still that kid scanning the face, still waiting by the phone, still reading silence as a verdict on your worth. You bring up an old hurt with a partner, a parent, a friend, and the second they get defensive, your stomach drops into that old familiar place. The lump in your throat shows up uninvited. You're not just frustrated in the present, you're falling through a trapdoor into every unanswered moment you ever swallowed. This is what unresolved trauma actually is, by the way. Not always some single catastrophic event. Often it's the accumulation of 10,000 tiny non-repairs. The times you got hurt and the air just closed back over it, like nothing happened. Your body kept the tally even when your mind let it go. So when someone won't acknowledge your pain today, it's not one wound. It's the whole archive lighting up at once, all that unacknowledged pain from back then demanding, finally, to be witnessed. And you've probably noticed you're drawn to exactly the people who can't give it. There's a reason for that, and it's not bad luck. Part of you is still trying to win the original game, to finally get the apology from someone who feels like the one who first withheld it. You pick the emotionally unavailable, the defensive, the ones who deflect, because their resistance feels like home. Getting them to soften would mean the wound could close. So you keep auditioning for repair in rooms where it was never on offer. And you call it love. Let's talk about what this does to your body, because it's not just in your head. When you live in a permanent posture of waiting, for the text back, for the tone to shift, for someone to finally come around, your system never fully stands down. This is nervous system dysregulation in slow motion. A low hum of alertness that you've mistaken for your personality. You think you're just an anxious person. But anxious isn't who you are. It's what waiting by a door for 20 years does to a body that was never told it could rest. And it shows up in the smallest, sneakiest ways. You reread the message before sending it, 10 times, hunting for anything that might set them off. You feel the floor tilt when someone takes too long to reply. You're walking on eggshells in relationships that are supposed to be safe, because some ancient part of you is still managing an adult's unpredictable mood. That's hypervigilance. Not a character flaw, but a smoke detector installed in childhood that nobody ever turned off. It kept you safe once. Now it just keeps you tired. There's a name psychologists use for the heavier end of this, and it's worth knowing: complex PTSD. Not from one event, but from prolonged emotional environments where safety and repair were unreliable. The clinician Pete Walker writes about how people with this carry a permanent inner ache and a reflex to abandon themselves to keep the peace. Self-abandonment, that's the cost. Every time you swallowed your own hurt to keep someone comfortable, you taught yourself that your feelings were the negotiable ones. And you got so good at it you stopped noticing you were doing it at all. Now go back with me one more time, because there's something specific worth seeing. Picture that child again, after a rupture, watching the adult walk away unbothered. Watch what the child does next. They don't get angry, anger isn't safe. Instead, they study the adult. They learn the moods, the warning signs, the exact pitch of a voice right before it turns. They become a tiny scholar of someone else's inner weather, because predicting the storm was the closest thing to controlling it. You were building a survival skill. You just never got to put it down. A child who learned this grew into someone I want to tell you about. One person, ordinary, the kind you'd never look at twice. For years, this person kept a running argument with an absent parent, entirely in their own head. Rehearsing it in the shower, on the drive home, lying awake at 2 a.m., replaying the conversation that would finally make the parent understand. They were certain that if they just found the right words, the parent would break open and say sorry. Decades went by, the parent never did, and the argument kept running, like a tab left open in a browser nobody could close. What finally shifted for this person wasn't getting the apology. It was a single gut punch realization in a therapist's office. The apology was never the destination. The waiting was the wound dressed up as hope. As long as they were waiting for the parent to make it right, they got to keep believing the parent could, which was easier than grieving the fact that they couldn't and never could. The waiting protected them from the loss, and the day they finally let the loss be real was the day the tab finally closed. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about closure that never came. You've been treating it like a gift only the other person can hand you, like they hold the one key, and until they turn it, you stay locked. But that's the original childhood deal still running. My okayness lives in their hands. The radical, almost uncomfortable truth is that the closure you're waiting for isn't a door they open. It's a door you close, quietly, from your side, without their permission, and without their signature on anything. I know how that can land, like being told to just get over it, which is the last thing this is. This isn't about forgiving them, or pretending it didn't matter, or letting anyone off the hook. The hurt was real. The neglect was real. The apology you deserved and never got was owed to you fairly, fully. Naming that out loud is its own kind of repair. You can hold them fully accountable in your own heart and still stop organizing your entire life around the hope they'll finally change. Both can be true. That's the part that frees you. So let's make it concrete, because you can actually feel this shift in your body. Try this. Think of the apology you've been waiting for and write it out, the words you needed to hear, in full, exactly as they should have been said. Not their weak version. The real one. Read it back slowly, to yourself, out loud if you can. Watch what happens in your chest. For a lot of people, something loosens, because the deepest need was never their voice saying it. It was these words finally existing in the world at all. That practice works because of something the body already knows. Bessel van der Kolk, in his research on trauma, kept finding the same thing. The body keeps the score long after the mind has filed the event away, which means repair can't be purely intellectual. You can't just think your way out of a 20-year wait. It has to be felt, spoken, moved through the body that's been holding its breath this whole time. When you say the words you were owed out loud, you're not rewriting history. You're telling your nervous system, at last, that the witness it waited for has finally arrived. Now, there's a quieter cost to all this waiting that almost nobody talks about. While you've been standing at that door, life has been happening behind you, and you've been half present for it. When your attention is permanently reserved for someone who might one day come around, you're never fully here. You give relationships a portion of yourself while the rest stays on call, waiting for the old emergency to resolve. People can feel that reservation, even if they can't name it. And you've wondered why closeness sometimes feels just out of reach. That's why. There's also the way it quietly distorts your sense of what love even is. If you grew up earning scraps of repair that rarely came, you learn that love is something you chase, prove for, wait out. Ease feels suspicious. Someone who's simply kind, consistent, available, they can feel boring, even wrong, because there's no gap to close, no apology to win. The tension you grew up reading as connection was never connection at all. It was just the only flavor of love you were ever handed. And familiar, it turns out, is not the same as safe. Go back one last time gently. See that child at the door, the one who waited? I want you to notice something you probably missed back then. That child was right. Right to want repair. Right to expect that being hurt would be followed by being held. The wanting was never the flaw. The wanting was healthy, accurate, exactly what a child is supposed to want. The environment failed the need. The need itself was perfect. Sit with that for a second, because it rearranges everything. You weren't too much. You were a child asking for the bare minimum. This is where a phrase like inner child healing stops sounding like a greeting card and starts meaning something real. It's not about hugging a metaphor. It's about going back to that specific child at that specific door and doing the thing the adults didn't. Turning to them and saying, I see what happened. It wasn't your fault. And you don't have to keep waiting, because I came back for you. You are, right now, the only person who was ever actually able to close that loop. the adult they waited for, grew up to be you. Let me give you a way to actually do that, not just imagine it. Sometime soon, find 10 quiet minutes and write a short letter to yourself at the age this wound first set in. Picture them clearly. What they wore, where they sat, the look on their face. Tell them the thing no one said. What happened to you wasn't okay. You didn't cause it. You don't have to earn an apology to be worth one. It feels strange for about 30 seconds. Then, for a lot of people, the lump in the throat finally moves, because someone finally said it. The science behind why this works is worth a brief detour. Back in 1975, a researcher named Edward Tronick ran what's now called the still face experiment. A mother plays warmly with her baby, then goes blank, flat, unresponsive, unreadable. Within minutes, the baby grows frantic, reaching, crying, trying everything to bring the mother back. Then she re-engages, and the baby settles almost instantly. That reaching is wired into us at the cellular level. When connection breaks, we are built to seek repair. You weren't broken for waiting at that door. You were a human being doing exactly what humans are built to do. But here's the piece the experiment quietly reveals. The babies who recovered fastest were the ones whose mothers came back. Rupture, on its own, isn't the wound. Rupture plus no repair is the wound. So if the repair never came for you, your reaching never got to resolve. It just kept reaching into adulthood, into every relationship, into the empty space where an apology should have been. Which means the work now isn't to stop reaching, it's to finally be the one who comes back, to re-engage with yourself the way that mother eventually re-engaged with her child. This is what self-validation actually is, stripped of the wellness poster gloss. It's the moment you stop submitting your pain to an external committee for approval. For your whole life, your hurt only felt real once someone else confirmed it. And since they rarely did, your reality stayed perpetually unconfirmed, flickering, dependent. Self-validation is you saying, "This happened. It hurt. I don't need their signature to make it true." It's quiet. There are no fireworks. But it's the exact moment the power cord gets unplugged from the people who never knew how to hold it. And slowly, not overnight, but slowly, you start to feel something loosen in how you move through the day. You catch yourself about to reread a text for the 10th time, and you just... Someone takes a while to reply and the floor doesn't fall out from under you. An old hurt surfaces, and instead of building the case for the 1000th time, you turn inward and say, "I know. I was there. I've got you now." That's reclaiming your voice, not by finally being heard by them, but by becoming the one who listens. There will still be days the old weight comes calling, and that's not failure. Healing isn't the wound disappearing, it's the wound losing its grip on the steering wheel. You'll feel the pull to chase the apology, to explain yourself one more time, to leave the door propped open just in case. And on those days, the work is simply to notice it. There's the old reaching, and choose gently not to abandon yourself in the chasing. Making peace on your own doesn't mean you stopped caring. Whose apology have you been waiting for all these years without ever saying it out loud? What would you actually do with your days if that door were finally closed? If you stopped reserving a part of yourself for someone who was never coming back? And what would change if you offered that child at the door the one thing they waited for, and you became the one who showed up? You don't have to have the answers today. Healing was never a finish line you cross. It's a direction you keep choosing, on the good days and the hard ones. But I want to invite you into one small act of courage before you go. In the comments, write one word, just one, that describes the child you used to be. Not who they told you that you were, who you actually were, back at that door, waiting and reaching and loving the only way you knew how. Brave, patient, tender, tired. Whatever word rises up, leave it. Let it exist somewhere outside your own head, where someone can finally see it. And let me say this with my whole chest, because you made it all the way here. Thank you. Truly. Sitting with something this tender, for this long, without looking away, that takes a kind of courage most people spend their lives avoiding. You just did the thing the adults back then couldn't do. You turned toward the wound instead of leaving the room. Here's what I most want you to walk away knowing. You were never waiting because something was wrong with you. It means you finally started caring about the right person. So let's name what's really been happening all this time, because it changes who you think you are. You were never the difficult one, the one who couldn't let things go, the one who held grudges or asked for too much. You were a person with an open wound, doing the most loyal thing a wounded person can do, waiting faithfully for the one who hurt you to come back and make it right. That loyalty was beautiful. It was just pointed in the wrong direction, and the moment you turn it toward yourself, everything that felt like brokenness reveals itself as devotion that finally found its home. There's a kind of grief in this, and I won't pretend otherwise. To stop waiting is to admit the apology really isn't coming, to bury something you kept alive for years. That ache, that unresolved grief is real, and it deserves its moment. But on the other side of that grief is something you haven't felt in a long time. Emotional freedom. The freedom of no longer outsourcing your peace. The freedom of a door finally closed from the inside quietly by you. You stop waiting for them to set you free, and you realize you've been holding the key the whole time. So here you are at the end of something, and maybe quietly at the start of something else. Let me leave you with a few questions worth sitting with, not answering quickly. You were waiting because you expected they'd close the wound they opened, but the closure you were searching for was never theirs to give. It was always with you. You stopped rehearsing their apology, and finally heard your own voice say the words you'd needed all along. If this gave words to something you've carried quietly, there are more of these waiting for you here. No rush, no pressure. Just leave the door open and wander back whenever the next quiet moment finds you. But notice something now that the door is closing. There's a particular kind of quiet that's about to fill the space where all that waiting used to live, and for you, quiet has never felt neutral. When someone goes silent, when a reply doesn't come, when a room goes still after something hard, your whole body tightens, like the silence itself is an accusation, a verdict, a punishment being handed down. You learned, somewhere, to read absence as the loudest message of all, and until you understand why the stillness feels like a blade instead of a rest, part of you will keep flinching at nothing. Why does the quiet hurt the people it hurts? That's where we go next.